But let's get down to what people will be wanting to hear as well now. When does the open beta start?
Open beta, yes. Open beta is due to start 31st of August. And it's open for everyone on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC.
Nice.
And if you do want early access, you should sign up on battlefield.com for the early, to become a Battlefield enlisted, Battlefield Insider is the word. All of these words.
So many.
Become a Battlefield Insider, remember to tick the box, and you will be part of it. So 21st of August, and you'll be part of the open beta. But of course, later on, it will be open for everyone.
Well, Lars, it's been a pleasure. I know the
Thank
community
you
love
for having
hearing
me.
from you. Very specifically, you're a man of the people as well. Let's be very honest about this.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us. We'll allow you to go away soon. But before you can leave, you have to stand here and watch with us the incredible trailer we've got lined up. Guys, take it away.
The legend of Lawrence of Arabia dies tonight.
Horses, planes, trains, and Johnny Cash. What more could I want from a trailer here, Westy? That looked amazing. I know the guys online already had a glimpse of that. People were reading into everything they can, but now's their opportunity to get their first real glimpse at this incredible gameplay.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially because you've got a gameplay trailer and that's purely there to show people what they can expect. But a lot of people will wait for gameplay because, you know, that's what you sit on your couch and play. That gameplay right there is representative of what you're going to get when you get your hands on the game.
And let's be honest, the Battlefield community, they take no prisoners. Don't even consider that. They know what they're in for here, and I can assure you it's a bit of a treat. And we've got some big personalities who will be able to be playing this as well. There's a lot of players coming into this. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Whether it be your favorite YouTuber, your ex-pro, whoever it is, you've got them in this game. Who are you going to keep your eyes on here?
I think there's a few different people. I mean, somebody like X Factor, big Battlefield YouTuber, he's really into his weapons. He'll know which ones to pick. And then you've got somebody like Ponylion HD. He's really good in the vehicles. I can expect to see some good dogfights there today. But obviously, we've got the other end of the spectrum. We've got people like Ali A and Vicstar, who are both big FPS players in their own right. And I think they'll bring something different to the Battlefield today as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Drunks as well. Ex-Battlefield 4 pro player for Fnatic. He was a bit of a monster in his time, so he could have some fun here. But we'll see how much he's been able to put into this, because we are into it. And look how gorgeous this looks already. You can see this huge environment, and this map is not small.
This is only just a part of it. And, you know, that looked fairly big already. So here we go, with tanks rolling into the battle, and in the background there you can already see some of the capture points. At the top of the screen you can see there are 7 on this map.
So actually, in case people are new to Battlefield as a whole, maybe they haven't played the previous iterations and they're just watching this to see what's going on here, we'll jump into the content soon enough. Explain to us how this game mode works so people know what to be looking for here, Westy.
Okay, so Conquest is your bread and butter for Battlefield. It's like the original game mode. And, you know, you're fighting for control of the whole map. You've got various things that you need to be looking for, different capture points all over the map. And here already, as you can see, we are on board with level cap, and something that I think he's been doing quite a lot recently is playing with the Flame Trooper. Now, unfortunately, it switched away, but hopefully we can go back to that in a minute.
Yeah, we can definitely check that out. The horses are out now. We're going to have 3 games of this, so don't worry. We'll get to break down this content for you.
Yep,
and maybe like Johnny Cash has inspired the Ring of Fire. You know what I mean? It all comes out now. We're going to see it going on. But yeah, this is the horse gameplay that we were looking for. Again, though, you're not going to get away with it. You can't just charge at 2 people and hope for the best. You will be taken down. It looked like the horse may have survived that, but the rider certainly didn't.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. It's the horse is very similar to other sort of open vehicles where you can die, but your vehicle, or horse in this case, may survive because the horse has a higher health level than you do.
So let's take ourselves through this map as well. What have we seen so far? It looks as though we've got kind of an...
Nice takedown.
What we're looking at so far is some sick sniping. All right, but coming back to the point, it looks like we've got a nice little area for what may be more infantry-based battling, and then you've got this huge landscape as well. There's quite a lot going on here.
If you imagine sort of like an oval shape to this map, at the top of the oval you've got an infantry section. It's almost like a little village, and we're in it now looking at some close quarters gameplay. And this really is sort of your destructible environment of the map. And there's a lot. In fact, I think there are 3 capture points on Conquest in this zone alone. So they are very close together, but they all vary a little bit. As you saw there, there's a capture point around the flag or the antenna. That there is a little bit more open, and then some of the capture points are further into these buildings, and obviously that creates even more close quarters gameplay. And then you go beyond that, and then you've got some of the capture points that are spread further around the edges of the map, and then you have one lone capture point right in the middle of the desert, in between all of the sand dunes. And that's one that's definitely going to be fought over with all the tanks and all of the biplanes flying over.
And I'm loving the diversity of weaponry we're seeing so far. Already, you've seen the shotgun coming through, clearing out that close range where in that infantry sort of area where they really flourish, you get to punish. And it looks like we're on board with CNADers. This is not prop hunt, I can tell you that right now. So you've got to get into the battlefield and do some work. So he's going to be going for it, going with the charge here, but you can see the punish come out from the others. Already set up very well with his gorgeous rifles. Going to nick the horse and go for a ride.
He's
Why not?
Go for
it's up for grabs.
You may as well take it if you can. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to get away there, but you know, that was a valiant effort. I think he deserves some credit there. Always going for the anti-tank line on the horse. That was an interesting way to try and take that one down.
And so far, the horses look really good here. They look like they work with the map. They don't seem to be clunky or just out of place. They seem to be really having a purpose. However, the riders, on the other hand, are being punished. The plane crashes. This environment is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, as we take ourselves through this one, the teams are battling out hard. And actually, Westy, this is pretty close so far.
It is very close, actually. Obviously, the Ottoman Empire up there on the right have taken a 5-point lead or so. And actually, we'll talk about the point system here, because that goes back to the Conquest game mode. It's slightly changed in Battlefield 1. There's no ticket bleed anymore. You might remember in previous games, if you killed a player, the score would change.
Yep.
And the way that the scoring has changed as well. It no longer counts down to 0, it counts up to a top value. And to remove the ticket bleed puts further emphasis on all of those capture points. You have to capture the flags in order to gain points for your team.
And I think that's such an intrinsic thing with Battlefield, though. You play for the team, you play for the objective. You can't just win on your own. You have to be as one, and focusing on taking those points down is part of the plan, and taking yourself towards the caps here. And actually, let's talk through that there, because we saw the bayonet charge coming out. Now, I know some people know this, some don't. Again, you know, new viewers coming through may not realize that maybe that's not always the best idea to take yourself further into it, because maybe sprinting works out better. Can you take us through a little bit of that mechanics? I know you know about it.
Yes, I do. So the bayonet charge mechanic, obviously it's intended to take down a player. You charge straight into them with a very sharp object.
The pointy.
But it can be used in another way, and a lot of people have started using it to very quickly get themselves out of a sticky situation. Maybe they're caught in a crossfire, they don't want to be there, or there's a player in front of them, they're not ready to go. They turn around and they bayonet charge out of the way because you sprint so much faster. However, though, after that sprint, you can only walk, because obviously you've just gone for a fairly serious sprint. And you can't sprint normally after that point, and that can sometimes leave you very vulnerable.
Well, we're going to be seeing that up-close action here. The melee comes out, an absolute takedown comes in. That was lovely to watch. However, the tanks are doing the major work. I think that's actually X Factor in one of those, driving around, doing everything they can. But there are counters to this. Now, maybe new players that are going, or how do you deal with a tank? You know, I'm just a man, but there are ways to get around this, isn't there?
100%. I mean, there are specific classes that are actually built to deal with that. And in this game, you're looking at the assault. And something that you might notice that you might not have seen before in previous trailers or gameplay from the alpha is that the assault players now have access to explosives. A bit like what you might call C4, but obviously a World War I version of that. So it's more like a dynamite stick. And that's something that you're likely going to see in the gameplay today. Very up close and personal, though. You have to get close to the tank to be able to get near enough to throw the dynamite. It doesn't stick like modern explosives do, so you have to be very close and sort of catch the tank unawares.
Yeah, and Stone Mountain trying to hold on here. The rest of his team was almost wiped at that point. His squad was in dire straits, so he's going to try and do what he can on the objective almost here, near that train station. Try and keep this one under wraps. You're going to see, actually, at the moment, it's the British Empire taking a strong lead, at least for now. The tickets don't reflect that just yet. And, oh, here we go. The train has been deployed. The hype train's about to come into the station here, Westy.
Yes, this is actually a really interesting bit because even though it's a behemoth and yes, it's designed to change the game, it really depends on how you use it. If you don't use it correctly, then you could actually leave yourself more vulnerable. It could go very quickly indeed, and then you've lost your chance to sort of change the tide of the battle.
And let's go down that route, actually, because we're going to see it in action very, very soon. The point is, it doesn't really get to the capture points, does it? It only really goes by one. It has an effect on a second. It does do damage. There's no disputing that.
Here comes the train now. And yes, it is on rails for anyone else out there who wants to make a joke about that. No, it is on rails, and it features 6 different seats, plenty of cannons on the side. It's actually got an anti-air cannon as well, so it is extremely powerful, not only to ground units, but people up in the sky really do need to pay attention as well.
Now, speaking of up in the sky, though, there has to be a counter to this, as you said. There are ways to play around these behemoths, because we saw on that first map, people were kind of unsure how to deal with it the first time. Then you see that everyone coming together, taking it down and working through it. How do you deal with that train?
Well, one of the things that you can do is, as an infantry unit, obviously, as I said, the assault player does have access to some explosives, but in my own sort of experience of looking at the games that we've seen, players in sort of planes are going to be the best ones to sort of
eyes in the sky here.
Yeah, eyes in the sky, really. You've got people in the bombers, and they're the ones who can deal a massive amount of damage. If they lay down a carpet of bombs on top of that train, they're going to do a massive amount of damage.
Well, speaking of it, you highlighted Ponyline HD as one of the players you wanted to watch for this ability. He's already eyeing up that train. He knows what he wants out of this one.
Definitely, but just so we can see here, this is a really good shot of just the scale of the map as well. It's absolutely massive. It is a huge map. You can see the objective off in the middle there. He's taking some serious damage, but he's going to come in, I think, for another strafe run if... Oh, he's going for the repair. He feels like he's safe enough to do that. But I think he's probably going to come in for another strafing run on that train.
And this is the beauty of Battlefield as well. It's not just about your infantry. It's up in the air. It's up in the skies. We're seeing those dogfights coming through. And now here comes that run again. The hit and run. Ponyline HD needs to back out of this. He's got to be careful. He is taking fire as well. They're not letting him just get away with this. And that's it.
The armored train took him out completely. Wow, that really does show the power of that train there. That's something that you do have to note, though, is that people up in the planes may be the best people to try and take this thing out, but you leave yourself extremely exposed to everything else up there as well, because you're concentrating on something on the ground, not the other plane that's now behind you shooting at you.
And also, let's bear in mind, because a lot of people get nervous about this stuff. You know, how's that going to work? Is it balanced? Is it not? Keep your eyes on the tickets. They haven't gone drastically in one favor. It's more even the scoreboard. It's meant to be able to turn the tide of the war almost. And oh, we've got a little bit of action.
Oh, he was
Cyber Wolf, and with the pistol shot, you're going to get punished there. The MP18 trench gun is going to deal with you very swiftly.
They tried to go for like a sneaky melee kill, but it didn't quite pay off. And you know what? It happens to me all the time. You try and go for it, and then the person turns around at the last minute, and of course they're the one standing there with a fully automatic weapon whilst you've got a bolt-action rifle. So, and that again is the beauty of Battlefield. It's the rock, paper, scissors mechanic. Everything has a counter. If you're going in for the melee, you better be aware that that person could turn around at any moment, and you've left yourself extremely vulnerable. Who have we got here? This is Driftor. He's taking the tank into perhaps uncharted territory, into a more infantry part of the map, but of course he's putting a lot of power behind those infantry units there.
Yeah, that's certainly going to do some great damage, but already you can still find this infantry battle going on. These buildings allow for perfect cover. The map, however, does change. The cover, it just completely removes itself throughout this battle. And again,
You can see here on the ground to the right-hand
Yeah.
side, you can see the craters that have been formed in the ground. That could have been from a dumbfire rocket from the plane. It could have been the anti-tank grenade. There are so many things that you need to be aware of in this game, and terrain deformation is one of them. Suddenly, you might be able to use that as cover, but on other occasions, and most likely that cover has just been taken away.
Yeah,
It's interesting to note that that train was still going at that point, because the match has moved on a fair bit, but the train was still there, plucking away.
And look at where the flags have been capped here. Let's keep that in mind. Only 2 are secure, 1 for each team. So at the moment, it's actually fairly even. Both teams going for different objectives, both running at the same time. You are seeing the cover and fire going down, the suppression coming into the place. That flag is so contested right now. They're doing whatever they can. And at that sort of range, you're not going to have the best of luck with that sort of weaponry. And well, you're not going to have much more luck if you do that.
That says accident. I'm not sure what
It's a
happened
little
there.
backflip. A little backflip. It didn't go well.
We're still running in favour of the Ottoman Empire here, but the gap is only 10 points. And as I said, kills don't count towards that score anymore. So there is a lot of frantic toing and froing around these flags. But now you can see that the British Empire
They're back.
now have control of, I think,
That's a 4.
that's
a 4 lockdown at least.
that's a 6 lockdown now.
It's about to be. There
It's
it is.
about to be 6 lockdown, and as you can see, the British Empire catching straight back up now, reducing their lead. And this is really where Battlefield can completely change in just the blink of an eye.
And at the moment, the Ottoman Empire only clinging on to 1 point. That is not what you'll be seeing. And actually, let's talk a little bit about this sniper rifle as well. Let's talk about what we're seeing here, because you see people talking about zeroing, which you didn't necessarily see in that one, but bullet drop's a thing in this. It's not just your out of the box kind of easy shooter. This is tough work.
Yeah, you've got the bullets that you fire do actually travel across the map. They take time to reach the enemy that you're firing at. You've got bullet drop and bullet drag as well. For people who don't know what bullet drag is, that's where... Oh, look at that for a roadkill. That was fantastic. That was actually either a really good bit of skill or something extremely lucky. Either way, it was a cool bit of footage.
Look, no luck, just skill, 1 shot, 1 kill. All right, that's what I cling to, and I will always stick to that, Don't be a naysayer, or I'll have to bring out the horse puns, okay? But we are seeing still this back and forth going on. At the moment, the British Empire have turned it round towards more of their favour. However, the clock is running out here. We're down to 1 minute, actually under that. These are the final closing moments. If the Ottoman Empire doesn't come back into this, they could be done for.
Well, looking at it now, I'd find it extremely unlikely if the Ottoman Empire really managed to pull anything back at this stage. Only 45 seconds to go. They have taken back a couple of points, but they appear to be losing them just as quickly as they're taking them. Perhaps the players on the map, their distribution isn't great at the end of the round. Maybe they're just frantically trying to capture whatever they can. And that's part of Battlefield. It forces you to change what you're doing. Suddenly you've got to focus on something different. I mean, there are 64 players playing here, so there's always something different that's going to happen.
All right. And Azel, what have you got here? He's capturing at least.
Yeah, he is
He's
capturing.
actually doing some damage.
He's
Not
trying
enough.
to take out the trying to take out one of the planes, but we are coming very close to the end of the round now. Just 10 seconds to go, and that's a nice way to finish the round. I think a good overview of the map and our first round of Battlefield 1 on the desert.
There it is, ladies and gents. What a way to close out a brilliant first impression here of this gameplay on this new environment that we hadn't really seen tested out yet.
Do you know what? That was an extremely high score considering the
was.
time of the round.
It really was.
That was a really good score for them to go for. Shall we recap what we've just seen?
Let's take it out, because we saw a lot, and as said, there is a couple more rounds coming. That's not it. We have more. We're not going to treat you like that. Let's not go on through, because we got to see the train coming into play. We've seen the aerial side of things. We've seen this new map, the environment. What really stood out to you out of all of that?
I think when you mentioned the train, I think what stood out for me is it is a behemoth and it's supposed to change the tide of the battle, but it was gone and very quickly. We didn't see it a huge amount. It maybe sort of more played like a stealthy role. Maybe it was just taking out tanks and other things. We didn't see a massive battle going on around it.
Yeah.
And it can sometimes be a little bit of a honeypot where everyone sort of just goes for it. But in that case, either they were just sort of playing the stealthy role and sort of keeping themselves to themselves and taking out who they needed to. But we didn't see a huge amount of it. And actually, something that we didn't see at all was the sandstorm, and I'm looking forward to seeing that soon.
Did you just say sandstorm around Twitch chat or any other service? Because you're about to get some Darude spam, let's be very honest
I think
here.
we are. Oh,
If
well.
it does happen, we accept our fate, and we're going to go with it. But yeah, we can actually talk about the sandstorm when it happens, because there's actually a lot of different mechanics around it, because everyone who played that first map that came out through Battlefield 1 already got to see the changing environments, how
Yeah.
the vision changed, how even sniper mechanics changed, how you wouldn't be able to see that little glistening light in the distance
Definitely,
because of
yeah.
certain aspects of weather. So again, so many small pieces changed in this game. Who knows what we're going to see with that sandstorm?
It's more dynamic than I think Battlefield's ever been before, and we were talking about the destruction, you've got the weather in there, all those different weapons that can do so many different things. And, you know, that's really, really quite exciting.
Well, speaking of quite exciting, I said it wasn't over yet. We've got just a little more time to watch a little bit more Battlefield. We've got another round coming up right about now. So guys, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be watching this one again, see what we've got coming out here. Will they be able to counter the train so readily, or will it have more of an impact? We're going to find out any second. The teams are getting themselves ready and locked into place. What are you going to be looking out for this time?
I think I'd like to see maybe a little bit more action around some of the bolt-action rifles, because I think in this map specifically, because it's so large, you really can take advantage of those sniper rifles in the right situation.
Now, anyone who knows me knows I am a ridiculous fan of things like bolt-action rifles, anything along those aspects. I love seeing that sort of gameplay, because I'm more an infantry person. You know, everyone in Battlefield seems to have their own type of how I like to play it. For me, I'm all about that life. And seeing already how they're kind of working in that nice little element that's just below that plane right there, so mounted, just taking the scenic route over the top, it just excites me incredibly. There's so many ways to play this game, and at the moment we're going to find out exactly how these guys approach it. Already though, GNA go into their, you know, different sides. So the Ottoman Empire finds one, and the British Empire finds the other. But it's all about those middle points. How do they approach it? How do they get themselves into it? How do they cap those flags?
Yeah, and I mean, like, looking at what we've got going on up in the sky, you might think that they don't really get themselves in the battle. But if they're going for a strafing run on some of those objectives that are in the town there, maybe they get some destruction going on, they destroy a house, that gets rid of the cover. Maybe that sort of makes an inroad for their own team. So sometimes it might look like they're not doing much up there to help the people on the ground, but invariably they're doing some sort of damage that will have an effect on you at some point. It looks like we're all running in to the infantry area here and definitely taking good advantage of it, because from what we're looking at, it is a very well designed section of the map, and looking at it, it is rather beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely love this. They're all going in for C. That's the point at the moment. That's the heavily contested area. You can see the madness going down in this village area. You've got the sniper up on the roofs. You've got the assault classes running around the bottom. But there is that definitely they're utilizing, even words are hard, on those rock edges. You can really play around them and build off the back of it. And really, the terrain allows you so many more options. You don't want to be, you know, highlighting yourself over the skylines. You want to be running just in front of the defilade almost. This changes so many aspects here, but let's see how these initial kind of back and forths have gone down.
Oh, we were just about... Oh, we've seen
Ooh,
there.
have we got a flamethrower?
I think we might have a flamethrower there.
We've got to find who's that on, hopefully.
We need to try and get some footage of that, especially not only the flamethrower, but we do have the sentry, which is the walking tank, as it's
The
been
dad's
called.
strength. Right. This is...
And we've got the tank hunter as well, which actually is on a point of the map that we haven't seen a huge amount of. The tank hunter on Sinai Desert is it's hidden away right in the middle of the desert underneath some cover, and you can pick up the anti-tank rifle there. You do have to go a long way to get it.
So it is a commitment.
Yeah, definitely a commitment, but you might, with an anti-tank rifle, it's almost a big, massive sniper rifle with armor-piercing rounds in it. You're going to be firing from perhaps a much further distance, so maybe you can use some of that cover that's out there, those big sand dunes, to really sort of disguise the fact that you're running around with an anti-tank rifle.
You know, if any of these players have their heads off, you're going to make them all go and look for that now. I hope you're happy with yourself. You've encouraged these guys to go wander into the desert. They're going to be in trouble. Hopefully no sandstorm happens. But back into the action, that is going to be an incredible factor if it comes in. That's actually one of the classes I've not seen yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think, like, from what we have seen of it, it's only been very brief. I mean, I did get a small chance to have a look at it, and it is a rather dauntingly sized rifle. And it can only be fired in prone.
Everything. How you use it, and you have to prone with it, right?
You can only use it in prone, or if you prop it up against cover. You can't just be running with this thing and then fire it. It's got so much recoil to it that DICE have designed it so you can only fire it essentially with the bipod deployed.
And that's the thing that most people want to see is how do they kind of balance into this game? How do they work around that? And oh my word, that horse was ambitious trying to take on the tank. Surely that's not going to go well, and it didn't in the end. The tank's still rolling. He's still happy chugging along. I don't think he even realised what happened then.
No, I mean, in many respects, like that, the horse is what it maybe tried to do there. It was something that I was talking to one of the developers about, is that the horses have like I don't like calling it feelings because it's a video game, but horses do have certain tendencies, and they are in the middle of a war, and they are sort of maybe a little bit jumpy, and they can actually sort of jump over cover if you approach it. So let's say maybe coming up to a small wall or barbed wire or something like that. As long as it's not too tall, the horse will actually attempt to jump over it for you.
And one thing I'll say actually, and I'm a big fan of this, is how good it looks when they do this. And we actually can come to a moment here that we're seeing is this kind of mantling almost, but this really quite high mantling. They're pulling themselves over this, and it comes back to this again though. The animation looks so smooth when they do this in Battlefield 1. It feels like they're actually working with the environment rather than working around it.
It doesn't feel like the environment is against you.
Yeah.
Which is maybe something that a lot of people thought some of the older titles, where you walk up to a wall that's taller than you and you think, oh, I can get over that. And you couldn't. You just run up to it and sort
Stand
of
there
walk backwards and forwards, and then somebody shoots you in the back because you're not paying attention. But now in Battlefield 1, you can vault right up over that, pull yourself up and over. Obviously, you do slow down, but you will get over that cover, and that creates like a new layer of gameplay. Suddenly, that solid wall in front of you is no longer the cover that you thought it was.
And look at this beautiful gameplay. That's actually Anderzel coming out with this, so really nice work with that assault class. Just running around, he's got a great opportunity. Drunks gets absolutely wrecked, and I love seeing that. Nice try, Drunks. I see why you're not in Fnatic anymore.
Yeah, he is the ex-professional. He's no longer a professional. That's actually quite harsh. Never mind.
Hey, I'm allowed to do that, all right. You know, you got to abuse him a little bit. But actually, let's talk about Conquest as well and how this game mode works, and maybe some features that people don't really realize. You saw it then when the point was being contested that when they were on the capture point, it wasn't all red. There was a piece of blue, actually, in that sort of, I guess, piece above whichever point you're capturing. What does it actually display, just for people who don't know?
Well, if we might see it a little bit more in the gameplay as we move forward, but it sort of appears above the capture point on the center of your screen, and it's almost like a little dial, and it goes one way or the other. And if the dial is sort of war one color than the other, obviously you're friendly, you're blue. So if the dial is more blue, that means that there are more of your players on that capture point. If it's more red than it is blue, then there are more enemies on that capture point. So as you can see here, we're on the antenna point, and you can see there was a lot more red on that line than there was blue, which means he's not going to take that capture point on his own, and he will simply have to fight off the people that are on it before he can start to take it.
And he's looking for high ground, it seems. I don't think he's got what he wanted here, so he's going to have to take the man-to-man fight, which may not be ideal at this point. He's already got a bit of a challenge coming from the other side. Going to try and find another route. This is the environment we're talking about. You're not locked into one approach. You find your own way through these maps, and he's going to take himself as best he can around this map and find a better way to approach it. Again, still not in the perfect position for this sort of weaponry. He's got that scope on top. It doesn't really work in these close range elements, and you're going to find out exactly what.
A complete takedown there with the horse, trampled to death, just completely trampled to death by Game Riot.
So let's check in on the tickets as well here, because so far we're seeing 74 to 60, a fairly even game. 7 minutes. Excuse me, not 70. 7 minutes left overall. That'll be a little bit longer. So this has been a very close affair. It seems that the spawns coming in, the way these teams are playing this out, has been very even, but.
Oh, what did we see
try.
there? What did we see there? And as you can see on the screen, here comes the armored training again. And something interesting that you'll notice, the flamethrower. We can see it for the first time. As you can see on the screen, you'll notice that it's a little bit darker than perhaps a normal person's view. That's because the Flame Trooper, the elite class, has a permanent gas mask on. And that sort of fits the role because it is a flamethrower, so perhaps you might want to protect yourself from that heat. But at the same time, it means that they can't be damaged from gas grenades. It's kind of like a little balancing feature. One thing you have to remember with the Flame Trooper, though, is it's really only effective in close quarters. That flamethrower isn't going to reach very far. You did see there he was taking a lot of damage from the soldier. It was a little bit further away from him. That was an extremely brutal takedown. That was rather epic thing to see. And as mentioned, the train is on its way in. On the right-hand side of the screen, by the score there, you can see the train's health up at the top. You might notice that steadily decrease as the train moves further into the map, starts to attract a little bit more attention. Oh, it's interesting. It's at the train station right now, perhaps where it should be.
It's found its place in life.
I think that's something that you mentioned earlier, actually. We didn't really expand on it. The train itself moves through the map. It can be controlled by the driver backwards and forwards. It can be stopped in one place. And it does have effect on a couple of the flags. This one here, the actual train station, and there's a couple of flags either side, I think one either side, that it can have an effect on. So if you've got a good route going backwards and forwards, the behemoth there can sort of take back maybe 3 flags in one stint, which could be extremely helpful.
It really can be, and it does, as you said previously, provide more than just that, though. It doesn't just play that capping role, it is the damage it provides. It draws people in. I don't know what it is about it. It's like the black hole, and everyone just kind of piles towards it, which may be good for them or not, we'll find out. But already, the points are becoming more even. It is serving its purpose, and I know a lot of people were nervous about its in play. How is it going to work? Does it, how's it going to go down? Actually, so far in this playtest, at least, what we've seen from these guys, it is actually turning it around. When you have that big deficit on your side, you can pull back in, and oh, that's absolutely brutal. That was a takedown and a half.
He didn't expect it because he turned around to see the bayonet going straight through his chest. That was a rather interesting, just a good overlook here actually of the map, so you can see the scale of it. It is absolutely massive. Really love that spawn-in animation though. You swoop down onto the map. It's really cool. Even here you can see the scale. Look how far away from all the objectives he is. He's got quite a lot of running to do before he'll reach some of those objectives out there.
And it's so deadly just walking across that really open environment. You will get punished if you do. You've got to find ways to find cover or maybe utilize those horses. As Lars kind of brought into the conversation, they do have some fair speed on them. Those things aren't slow. They can surely pull yourself into the battle, so maybe look at those to pull yourself in towards maybe a more infantry style or sit back with the sniper.
100%. I mean, the train here actually is going down rather quick. We haven't seen a huge amount of gameplay of it, which is a little bit unfortunate because, again, it's gone down very quickly. But what you can see is the British Empire have got control of about 4 of these flags, which is sort of put them behind a little bit because the Ottoman Empire came back into the lead there, but it's almost neck and neck.
Oh no.
100 points each. That was a rather epic little crash right there.
He can pretend he meant it by going to the B point. That's it. He'll just be like, that was tactical actually, guys.
He was
Do
just
not
parking
worry.
it. He was just parking it.
And actually the thing we were saying was that open terrain you had to traverse being such an issue. Actually, now that the train's been dealt with, you can see the plumes of smoke covering the battlefield. You can use that as cover.
Yeah, suddenly that becomes like a barrier to the desert that's out there. There's like a strip of this smoke that's going along, and although it doesn't look like a good amount of cover, if there are enemies on the desert side of it, further out to the left-hand side of the screen there, they're not going to see you on the other side of that train, which is an interesting thing to think about, especially because the train station itself, you can see there, has got quite a lot of the original parts of it destroyed. So although it's not exactly the same
What is that in the distance? Is this what I think I'm seeing?
That looks like a sandstorm.
That looks terrifying. The train is scary, okay? As a gamer, that scares the life out of me. But oh my word, this is enveloping the whole map. It's just rolling in from the distance. Players are going to have to pull themselves into closer range here. Surely they can't play in this.
Because look, you can start to see the effect already. With 3 minutes of the game to go, with the score being tied, how is this going to play out? It could be really interesting.
Yeah, this changes the whole aspect of the game. This is the beauty of Battlefield to me, that you just get to see this incredible environment change in the blink of an eye. Now, speaking of blink of an eye, you're going to be blinking for a while. You can barely see in front of your own hand. That's incredible. This is going to be much better to be playing in this close range. You might have to switch away from those snipers, play towards more the assault or something else, because that is impossible to see, and the spam's coming out. All right, the memes is, thank you for the memes. But you can see the effect it's having.
Definitely. I mean, one thing that the Sandstorm does do is, as you said, it brings the gameplay in a little bit. But in this infantry-only area, it's put sort of like a grayscale over certain parts of it. But you'll see it's still very much visible. So perhaps we'll see a lot more gameplay in this infantry section simply because the Sandstorm has rolled in. And you know that going out into the desert at the moment, not being able to see 20 feet in front of you is probably a very bad idea.
It's not what you want to be doing. And looking at how the teams are currently positioned, the British Empire is actually kind of stuck out towards the desert side, whereas on the other side of things, the Ottoman Empire has a little bit of control, or at least trying to contest the control towards the more infantry. Oh, that was a 6-shot-and-a-half. Stoney coming in with the goods. Now, he's actually the captain of one of these two teams.
He is. He is the captain, and he is one of the best Battlefield snipers out there. You'll probably see a few more shots from him pulled off all over the place. But actually, looking at the score, the Sandstorm is still there. The score is tied pretty much at 128 each, 127, 128, with only a minute to go. So this literally could come down to the wire.
This is Battlefield to me. These sort of battles, when it gets hectic, when it gets absolutely mad in these sort of aspects, now that Sandstorm's starting to dissipate a little. You might start being able to see a touch more here, but still, vision blur, trying to find their way through. 55 seconds left, 131 tickets towards the Ottoman Empire against 131 on the other side. This is neck and neck. And look at this, it's 3 caps to 2 at the moment. Actually, no, it's 2-2. This is literally going down to the wire here.
It is going right down to the wire. You can see the Ottoman Empire does technically have a little bit more control. Oh no, it's lost
It's
it.
won.
Objective C is now moving over to the British Empire. And we could now see with the Ottoman Empire, it's still neck and neck with 30 seconds to go.
But at the moment, we're seeing them all stuck on that sea capture point. They brought it back. Now they've got 3 under wraps here for the British Empire, so they're going to start pulling ahead just a touch. 2 are being contested for the Ottoman Empire, so they might fall behind a little bit, but still it's up in the air. The contest is going on. 15 seconds remain. It's back to 137 apiece. I can't call it either way here.
This is literally going to go down to the wire because you'll see C is now being taken back
Oh my word.
by the Ottoman Empire. What is going to happen? 3, 2, 1. That's it.
That can't...
It came as a draw! That's fantastic.
Do you know what? That deserves a round of applause. We got Darude, we got Sandstorms, and we got a draw. They're rarities in this game.
Do you know how many times?
That's amazing.
You must practice these things all the time. You never